Good or bad? Is there such a thing? Hey everyone, I really hope that this video finds you flourishing. I would like to bring to the mat today an ideology that is sometimes taught in yoga, and this refers to the teaching that there's no good or bad and it's all just life here for your growth. All right, so go get comfy and let's talk about it. All right guys, let's just rip this teaching wide open and examine it. So the teaching is there's no good, there's no bad, it's all just here for your growth, right? Sometimes we even go a step further and we say everything is just a mirror and life is just reflecting you back to you. Whether positive or negative doesn't really matter, right? Well guys, I'm here to say that that is not always true. The yoga world is a big world and there are many teachers, many thoughts, beliefs, and traditions that can vary from one end of the spectrum to the other, right? A lot of these teachings are very helpful and very healing, and they really help us grow as members of society. But there are also teachings that, if we look at them in the light, simply are untrue, despite how spiritual they may sound. So if we look at the first limb of yoga, we will see that the first limb is the yamas. The very first limb taught before you get into any asana is laying the foundation and the guidelines of right and wrong, right? The good and the bad. The yamas teach us that violence, lying, stealing, and hurting others is wrong. It's wrong because those things violates another person's integrity and our own, and it really disrespects other people, their space, their stuff, and even their intelligence. So right out of the gate, we know that peace, truth, respect, and non-violence is a baseline of acceptable and expected everyday behavior. So why then is this teaching so rampant? Because we live in a society where lots of people want to shrug off responsibility and accountability for their actions, right? And diverting the blame onto you or life, right, suits their agenda and their egos. I want us to look at this from a different angle. If I'm told that nothing is good and that nothing is bad, it's all just life, right, here for my growth, then that would go directly against the point of karma, which says you're going to reap what you sow. And it would mean accountability is non-existent. And therefore, so would our conscience. Yet the very first thing we're taught in yoga is to be conscious and accountable for our actions, right? And we do instinctively know when something is good or bad, don't we? It's hardwired in our beings, and that's why when a boundary or trust is breached, I don't only feel the violation on the outside of me, but I feel it on the inside of me as well. That's why healthy people feel guilty about hurting somebody. It is our internal compass telling us that we've gone off course. It's innate. So really taking some time to analyze whether there's true medicine in a teaching is vital for our actual healing and growth, right? Just because something sounds good doesn't mean that it is good and doesn't mean that it's true, right? Or that it's healthy. It is wrong to hurt somebody and then run from accountability, period. And how we treat other people, it matters. And honestly, if we really want to talk about reflections of things, how I conduct myself, how you conduct yourself, right, is a direct reflection of your insides, not theirs. Okay? Which is why we teach in yoga that the only person that you can control or change is yourself, which refutes the statement that you are responsible for what happens to you. So if I'm hurting people, lying to people, cheating people, is that a reflection of the other person? No, it is a direct reflection of myself, of how I think, the values, the morals that I have or I don't have. Which is why in a perfect world, the law punishes the guilty, not the innocent, for the behavior committed. You never hear a judge say, hey, well, maybe, she attracted this in her energy somehow, and I think we should actually punish her for what happened. What? No, the behavior means that the other person is the liar and a cheater who hurts other people. If I'm responsible, kind, honest with everyone, guess what? That means I'm a good, trustworthy person that's not out to intentionally harm you. We as people learn through accountability and responsibility, and it is good for us to be able to answer for our behavior. That is how we keep peace and maintain order in our society as a whole. And also why we should be mindful of our behavior towards other people. Sometimes something can sound super spiritual and super deep, like, yeah, it's really all neutral and it's just my perception that needs work. No. You have every right to be hurt and upset when you have been wronged or harmed by another person, especially if it was intentional. That is not a perception problem. That is something that will occur inside of you without your permission, no matter how practiced you are at non-attachment. There is always something that can cause us pain. Right is right and wrong is still wrong. And there are people, yes, even spiritual sounding leaders out there who can have a faulty teaching. So it is our responsibility to examine and to test the teaching being taught. Nobody gets it all right, and we have all believed things that later we were like, oh, what was I thinking? So it's not about shaming anybody, but it is about shining a light on teachings that cause harm and then changing and adjusting our teachings when we're made aware of inconsistencies, harmful side effects that could really affect someone's human rights or self-esteem, and that teaching does. It sneakily removes the offender's responsibility and then blames the person that they wronged. We have to get back to the basics, guys. There is good in this world and there is bad in this world. And there are people in positions of influence who do not have your best interests at heart. So really put the responsibility on yourself to examine everything that you're being taught. It doesn't matter how much you like or you respect a person. If your teacher has an issue or develops an attitude about you examining or asking questions about their teaching, then that is a huge red flag. If the teaching is true, it will stand. No matter how you pull it apart, it will stand. It's only faulty teachings and teachers who have an issue with their teachings being examined. Look at things for yourself. It is not disrespectful to your teacher to reflect and examine what they're teaching. It is healthy for us to use our own critical thinking and our own judgment before we come into agreement with anything. I have a quote that I'd like to read to you. It says, "Discernment is the rare wisdom that sees beyond appearances, weighs every choice against truth, and selects not what shines for a moment, but what endures for a lifetime." 1 + 1 is still 2. And if the teaching doesn't work or things don't add up, you need to sit and reflect on them. So look, guys, I hope that this helps someone. I hope that we can all start reflecting on what we're following and why, and for us teachers, what we are teaching. Because especially when people look up to you, you have a responsibility to give proper consideration to where you're leading people. And we are, like it or not, responsible for our teachings and for the people who take them to heart. All right, everyone, we'll leave it here for now. Lots of love. I hope you go and reflect. We'll see you in the next one. Namaste.